So you want to leave your day job in the next 3 to 6 months. You then want to go on to generate a great 6 or even 7 figure income. All right. How do we do it? Now, look, I speak to so many people every single week, and everyone is saying, well, Jay, look, I really like the idea of making money, right? I really want to leave my day job. Wouldn't it be great to make 6 or 7 figure incomes? But I have no idea how. How do you guys do it? It's so difficult. It's so hard. Now, look, I'm going to show you exactly how. So by the time you finish watching this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we go on to generate a 7 figure income, how you can easily leave your day job within the next 3 to 6 months. It's not that hard. It really isn't. We make it hard. Remember, my key message is always about mindset and making sure that your mind is in the right place. Otherwise, you're going to get stopped every single step of the way. Because when you have a little hurdle or something like that, we want to give up. We want to foul. We want to say, look, that don't work, Jay. That don't work, Jay. Look, I tried it, Jay. That don't work. And the reason why we say that, because, we're not quite there in terms of the entrepreneur mindset. Every single one of us entrepreneurs have had challenges. Every single one of us have had, what people would consider as failures, if you like. But I don't see them as failures in any way, shape or form, because this is all a part of your growth. This is different than what you learn at school. When you learn at school, failure is bad, right? Because that then means that you then don't get the qualifications to get into the university. If you don't get the degree, that means that you then don't get the job in the preferred area or wherever you want to work, all that type of stuff. But entrepreneurship is not that. Entrepreneurship means that you have to try things. You have to fail a few times. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay, but you fail forward. So that then means that you grow and you grow and you grow, to the point of where, you've now figured it all out. Yeah, because you've made so many errors or stumbled so many times. So that is the key first and foremost. All right. But look, I'm always talking about mindset. Those of you that watch my videos, go and check out some more of my videos. If you haven't seen some of them, I talk a lot about mindset, level of expectation, who you need to become, whatever it takes, all of this type of stuff. Okay. Which I'm really, really passionate about. All right. But let's get into this stuff about how you go on to make a 6 or even 7 figure income in your business. All right. Okay. The first thing that we've got to cover, all right, I've got my board right here, okay? So I'm going to write a few notes as we go along, all right? So the first thing that I want you to think about is, well, what is your product, okay? Like, what products are we selling? Because again, I meet people, it's like, well, Jay, I want to make money, Jay, right? I want to leave my day job, yeah? I really do, Jay, right? I really do, yeah? I just don't know what to sell, Jay. I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to sell. I just don't know what to do. I'm like, well, we've got to come up with something, yeah? I mean, look, what's passionate to you, What do you want to sell? What do you see other people selling that do really, really, really well, A part of, this whole process can simply be about replicating what other people do that work really well for them, and then you can do the same sort of thing. But you've got to come up with, what you want to sell. So you could be selling things like, coaching services, okay? So say, for example, I do a lot of mindset and business coaching, okay? That's what I do, all right? But you might be wanting to do fitness coaching or, some sort of relationship, coaching or parenting, coaching, whatever it may well be, wherever you feel that you've got expertise that other people would see as value, okay? That's a great business, and it's great because it's very low startup costs. You don't have to then go and buy lots of stock and stuff like that. It's a really straightforward business because you're just literally using your expertise and, providing value to other people's lives, all right? So that's a type of business, but you might not want to do that. You might want to do e-commerce. You might want to sell physical products. Okay, you might want to sell, online courses, for example. You might want to sell, or affiliate marketing, selling other people's courses of which you get paid a commission in the process, stuff like that. You might want to do drop shipping. All you got to think about is, well, what product? If we're going to do a business like that, an e-commerce or a physical product type business, yeah, affiliate marketing or something like that, what are we selling? And, what does your competition look like? Because look, you've got places like Amazon of which, you can buy literally anything and everything. If you're like saying, well, look, I'll tell you what, Jay, right? I want to sell these pens. I want to sell this pen. It's like, well, what's unique about this pen? How are you going to sell this pen when I could just go onto Amazon right now and there are hundreds of people selling the exact same thing? So what is different about yours? It's easier when we're doing e-commerce, for example, to have something that might be trending, something that has maybe a bit of uniqueness to it, something like that, okay? Likewise with affiliate marketing or whatever it is. A lot of the times, thinking about something that you're passionate about, what product do you consume a lot, things like that, or just something that you're passionate about. Me, for example, I would love to sell products, for things like Arsenal Football Club. Yeah, I love Arsenal, right? It is what it is, okay? I love Arsenal. So say, for example, they've got an affiliate program, to try and sell some of their items. I think I could do that no problem because I'm really passionate about, about the football club, yeah? Likewise, martial arts, I like things like UFC. So, wherever you've got a bit of passion, it's easier for you to maybe obtain or try and sell some of those products because you're ultimately trying to sell to you. What appeals to you, so just really think about the product, okay? Really, really, really important, okay? It might even be like a digital marketing agency as well, where you help small business owners expand by doing all of their digital marketing services for them. That's a really good niche. I've done another video of how I made over £200,000 in around about a year and a half doing, having a digital marketing agency. So if you like the idea of that, go and check out that video as well. That's also on the channel, all right? Now, once we've identified your product, whatever it is that you're thinking about selling, the next thing that we've got to consider is what does your upsell look like? Okay, the upsell. So this is where we are trying to maximize our returns for every single customer that spends money with us. Maximizing returns. And we see this all of the time. Let's just say, for example, you go into McDonald's, right? You go in KFC or somewhere like that, right? What's the first thing that they're going to say to you when you're at the checkout? When you now go and buy your item, is that a large? Would you like extra this? Would you like extra that? They might say something along the lines of, would you like to boost or supersize that meal? Something like that. So what they're doing, and we see this a lot, right? Even when you go into like a supermarket, like a Walmart or a Tesco's over here in the UK, when you get near the checkout, there's things that, they might be trying to say, oh, don't forget to buy this, don't forget to buy that. So at all times, we're being upsold to. So if you look at that, if you're in a McDonald's or a KFC or anywhere, and you're going in there to buy a $5 meal, right? You're going to go and buy, spend $5 on the meal, okay? However, they now supersize you, yeah? So instead of spending £5 or $5, you now spend £7.50, yeah, for example, because they've upsold you. They're then going to say, do you want the extra donut, right? Do you want the donut with that, yeah? Or do you want the biscuit, yeah? Or whatever it may well be, okay? But they're upselling. So all they're ever trying to do is maximize their returns from every single customer of what it is that walks into their restaurant. So if you can imagine, somewhere like McDonald's, how much money that they will turn over each year, by people spending £5 with them per meal. Just imagine what that figure now looks like when, people now start spending £7.50 and then they buy the donut on top of that, for example. So we see it all of the time. So that then means if we're seeing other people doing it, if we're seeing successful businesses do that, then a good idea is for you to do it as well, all right? Let's just say if you've got like a coaching business of some kind, you're a fitness coach of some kind, you might offer an online course, for example, for like $50, right? Say people buy it for $50, £50, right? The online course, or £100, right? For the online course. But then you're going to upsell to the advanced version of the online course, some other, thing that people must have, okay? So that's now going to be an extra $200, okay? So they've now got to spend $200 or £200 extra to get the advanced thing, right? And then, you might want to, offer some time with you, for you to, do their diet plan or their exercise plan or whatever it may well be. And that's now more of a premium because they're now paying a little bit for your time. So you've gone from 200 now to maybe even 500, for example. Then after that, we've got the retreat. We've got the international retreat, the lose weight or get physically fit retreat, out in, I don't know, Bali or somewhere, right? Of which that now costs, £1,500 or £2,000 or even more. And then after that, you can have the mastermind, the super duper mastermind that, loads of different things of what you can do. But remember, you're maximizing your returns on every single customer that you have. That's what we do in business. Now, for those people that do not then want to take advantage of your upsell, what we'll then do is, we'll then do a downsell. So what is a downsell? So, we're going to go up, people buy it, but when they kind of hit a point of resistance, they don't want to buy anymore, like in terms of things that are more and more and more expensive, we can then do a downsell. Okay, so would you like this? Would you like that? No? Okay, right, let me now offer you something a little bit cheaper, still of good value. Remember, value is very, very, very important. If you don't lead with value, you're not going to get very far, because people just leave bad reviews and all sorts. Okay, so you're not going to get very far. All right. So you then do the downsell. Okay, something of good value, but maybe not as expensive. If they don't want that, you can then do another downsell, for example. All right. We can even do cross sells. So again, things when somebody buys something from you, something of equal value, we can then also offer that. We can offer bundles, so, instead of just buying the one course or after you bought the first course, I've now got a whole bundle of offers, for X amount of money. Again, it's cheaper if you buy it as a bundle, for example, but you're still maximizing your returns per customer. If you're doing things like, e-commerce or affiliate marketing, same sort of thing. If they buy say if they buy the microphone, shall I say, right? So somebody buys the microphone from you, okay? So straight away, they're going to buy the microphone, but right, what about the light? Okay, so look, the light that goes, that you also need, if you're going to be doing videos, okay, a nice little big ring light, for example. So that's your upsell. Then when people buy that, well, what about this like home studio, okay? This home studio kit, for example, that might have like green screens and different types of components here. What about that? Okay, so people then go on to buy that. All right. Okay, following on from that, right, we're doing a 3-day course on how to get the best out of the recording equipment and how to record great videos and blah, 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 right? So you started off by selling the microphone. You've gone on from the microphone all the way up to, like a 3-day workshop, for example, that you can sell for a premium. So again, maximizing your returns. Even if you're doing things like affiliate marketing, this is where you can get paid a commission for promoting other people's products, all right? Let's just say that, as an affiliate marketer, something that we should all be looking to do anyway is build a list, all right? So if people land on your squeeze page or landing page or land on a website or something like that where you're selling affiliate products, you want to be at some point be looking to build a list, okay? So opt in here and get this thing for free or whatever it may well be, all right? Now, as a part of that list, we can be promoting products of which when people buy from you, it's like, well, here's another product that's going to be of more value. And we can send these products out like the affiliate links via email. So again, for every person that now joins your list, they might go on to buy the first product of which you get a commission. You're then going to send out another email, maybe a week later with another product that is going to be also of great value. They could potentially go on to buy that. Another 2 weeks later, there's another email with another product. They might go on to buy that. So what I'm saying is again, even if we're just doing affiliate marketing, the aim always is to, once you get a customer, we get a customer and we try and maximize our returns per every customer, or even, people that join our list, our leads. We're trying to maximize returns from literally, every customer that we've possibly got. Okay. Now that's key, okay? That's important. That's what you see pretty much we all do in business, and you will know this. Anything you buy, you're always going to get upsold, okay? Right, so now we've covered that. So we've covered the products, okay? We want to make our 6-figure income, so it sounds fantastic. Jay, sounds good, right? I've got my product here. I've got my products, right? What next, okay? I now want to, start selling these products. So how do I sell the products? Now look, what I would recommend, based on things of what I do a lot myself and what lots of my students all around the world do, right? And that is, Webinars, all right? Webinars. Now, webinars are really useful. And the reason why I say, utilize webinars is because this allows you to get in front of your targeted audience all in one go. So on Tuesday night, for example, at 8 p.m., there's going to be 30 people, it could be 50 people, it could be 20 people. Regardless, you've got your targeted audience and a number of these people that are all there because they're interested in whatever it is that you've got to offer. They're all there, of which you go through a presentation that shows them value based around what it is that you are doing. Okay, so you've got to show them some value. You can't just have the webinar and say, all right, yeah, well, here's the product, and then go and buy it, because people's like, well, what does it do? How am I going to get value out of it? So that's the first thing of what it is that we've got to do when we're on webinars. We've got to show them the value in whatever it is that we're later then going to go on to sell, or just, how it all comes together, okay? And then following on from that, we can then sell to that audience. Depending on the price point of whatever it is that you're selling, you could be making thousands of pounds or thousands of dollars every single time you do a webinar. So I'll give you an example. I mean, look, a lot of my students do this all of the time. One of my students, her name's Joy, she will regularly do, £4,000 on a webinar. I've got other students, like Paul, who would do like, £6,000, £7,000, £8,000 on a webinar. Even me, like last week, probably done about £9,000, £10,000 on a webinar. Okay, well, that's what it was worth to me. Yeah, that webinar, that's how much it was worth to me, about £10,000. Okay, so again, you're in front of your targeted audience. Now, it does depend on what it is that you're selling. If you're selling things like this pen here, yeah, you're probably not going to do a webinar for this. But if you're running a coaching business, or some digital marketing agency in some way, or you're selling high ticket products in some way, something like that, a webinar would always be really, really, really useful. Okay, all right. So those are webinars. In addition to webinars, what we also want to be doing might be things like, right, ads, okay? Ads. So these could be social media ads. You might be having ads out on Facebook, could be on Instagram, could be on TikTok, okay? Ads are really effective, okay? And the reason why it gets you in front of your targeted audience, because you can set the ad to target specifically your targeted audience. So the only people that are ever going to see my ads are, people that are in a position where they're at the beginning of their journey. They really want to leave their day job. That's my niche. That's my targeted audience. You want to leave your day job. You're just getting started. You kind of need a bit of direction. You don't really know where to go. What products to pick. How do I do this game? How do I really make it work? That's my targeted audience. So those are going to be the people that see my ads. If you're already in business, you're already turning over £2 or £3 million a year, then you're probably not my targeted audience, to be honest with you, because you know all of this stuff already. So I'm specifically going to target people that are my targeted audience. And I will get in front of tens of thousands of people every single week. Some of those people will choose to come and do some work with me. Now, yes, when we look at ads, a lot of the time we think, yeah, but how much is that going to cost me? Oh man, that's going to cost me all this money. Now, again, this is the mindset that we need to shift from employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset, because everything that we do, especially when we're putting out ads, this is all about ensuring that you get a great return on your investment, okay? Because if you don't get a return on your investment, then stop running the ad. It's obviously not working, or you might have to change the ad. How you're delivering the ad might not be the right delivery. Targeting, who you're targeting might be the wrong type of people. Ultimately, we just need to, tweak the ad to make it convert. But it's not just money you're spending. You're doing it purely to get a return on your investment, and that's why you're doing it. So, again, by you getting a good return, this can change your life. So the webinars, become a part of your everyday strategy, because you're in front of your targeted audience every single week. So say, for example, you've got 30, 40 people there, you make 4 or 5 sales at maybe £1,000 a pop, or even £500 a pop. Look, you're making $2.5 grand there, making $4 grand there, $6 grand, and you can do that each week. Okay, remember, we only need to be making £8,000 a month, or around £8,000 a month, to be making a six figures, to be making over £100,000 a year. So if you're doing like, 4 or 5 grand a week, well, you're certainly into the six figure bracket by doing that as per the webinars. But the ads are very similar in terms of you're in front of so many people. Some of those people are going to want to do some work with you. Okay. Now, it does depend on the price point of your products to see whether or not it's going to be worthwhile doing ads. So would I sell this pen doing ads, using ads? Potentially. But I know I'm not going to make any money on the front end. To be honest with you, I'm not. Because this pen is, I don't know what, a pound, £2, something cheap, right? So that then means that the amount of money that I'm going to spend to acquire a customer that's going to spend £1 or £2 with me is not going to make sense, okay? It's not going to stack up. So why I might still run ads is because this pen now leads to the upsell, and then that now leads to the next upsell, and then the next upsell. So I know that even though I might make a bit of a loss on the front end, I'm still going to maximize my returns in the long run. That's the reason why I'm going to, use ads for the pen. So again, it does come down to your upsells, and you've got to check your conversions for the upsell. Typically, you might go on to convert 20% of the people that buy your front end product, then go on to buy the upsell. You've got to make sure that all of that works and works out for you. Okay, right. So those are ads. So we've covered webinars and ads. Like I say, look, I'm showing you how we make a 6-7 figure income, by doing what it is that you want to do. Okay. So the next step, or another step, should I say, would be things like content. Okay. Right. So we've got on here content. Okay. Now, content, this is where we might put content out on social media. Look, you're watching one of my videos right now, okay? So this is content that I'm putting out on social media, okay? You can put this out on Instagram, you can put it out on Facebook, TikTok, all over the place. Now, the thing is that what people do not always realize is that you don't always need the biggest following in the world. You don't always need, putting out social media content is free. All it does is take up a little bit of time, which is what I'm doing right now, yeah? But I'm going to put this out on YouTube, then I'm going to chop it up and put it out on other social media platforms, okay? Now, all it takes is a bit of my time, all right? I don't have to pay any money for this. People often assume, yeah, but, you need 200,000 followers, you need 2.5 million followers. Well, not really. Because, well, how many people might watch, your videos? Even if it's 50 people that watch your videos, one of those people might go on to become one of your customers of one of your high ticket sales. So for one video that's got 50 views, one of those people have said, yeah, in fact, I like the idea of this. And they now go on to buy from you, which might be, your premium coaching program, or, one of your premium products, or they might go through your funnel and buy the microphone, and then go on to buy the studio and all the rest of it, of which you've now been able to generate a decent amount of money from that. From one video, one video. So just imagine if you've got 2 videos out there, 5 videos, 10, 15, 50, 100, even if they're not getting thousands and thousands of views, providing that, you're giving away good value-based information that people are engaged with, chances are some of those people might become customers of yours, okay? So again, that is another, really good way of really getting out there and just making sure that you've got a presence out there. Like I say, people can see my stuff across, all aspects of social media, TikTok and everywhere. And to be honest with you, I didn't go onto some of these platforms like TikTok. I'm still getting up to speed with TikTok, but I'm putting content out on TikTok. Some of those people will end up on my website for sure, of which then some people then come on to go on to do some work with me. Direct messaging. I mean, if I had space on my little board here, I'd write on here, direct messaging. In fact, let's put that here, okay? Because again, this is really important, okay? Messenger, right? So what we can also do, so I've got that on here as well, right? Messenger, okay? What we can also do is we can message people that start following us. So people that might engage with our content, people that start following us, things like that across, our subscribers and, on Instagram or Facebook, whatever it may well be, we can start messaging them. Even people on LinkedIn, again, depending on your business and what it is that you're doing. But they're following you for a reason. And if you can identify why they're following you, if it's for your coaching business, is it for your digital marketing agency, is it for your products of some kind, because they like, the new gadgets of what it is that you're promoting, you can reach out to people and just start building a bit of a rapport and then directing people towards where they can go on to purchase your product or just some content that they might find valuable, okay? In addition, email marketing, all right? I mentioned this earlier on about building a list, okay? This is something that we all want to be doing, is building a list, so that means that you can keep on sending emails. So those of you that are on my list, look, every single time I send you an email, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sending you an email to just keep on saying, look, hey, I'm still here. Hi, this is what I do. Hey. Every time you receive an email, yes, I might have different content on the email. Some of the emails might be value-based, but at the end of the day, hey, I'm over here. That's what it's for, okay? So by combining these strategies, the things of what I'm talking to you about today, by combining these strategies, look, how can you not see a 6 or 7 figure income based on these things of what it is I'm telling you? Yes, there are some things to learn, how to deliver a webinar, how to, start selling from the moment you say, hi, my name is Jay Hastings, yeah? How do you start selling, some of this content, building up your confidence, building up your, skill in terms of, what we're going to be talking about, the delivery, all this type of stuff. Yes, there are some things to learn, but you got to think about what it is that you're saying that you want to achieve. You want to make a 6 or 7 figure income. If we're now not then going to be upskilling ourselves in any way, to start generating that income, it's not going to work, all right? It's not going to work, all right? So I'm hoping every single one of you now that are watching this video have got a clearer understanding in terms of what we do. Yes, there is work to be done. For those of you that are still thinking, Jay, that sounds like work, Jay. Whoo. And I get this sometimes. Whoo, Jay. Whoo. That sounds like work, Jay. That sounds like work. It's like, what, you want to make a 6-figure income? You don't want to do no work? Well, you want to make £1 million? You don't want to do no work for it? Whoo, well, I saw this thing over there, right? Some other little system, yeah? It says all I've got to do is do this AI thing, yeah? Press a couple of buttons, yeah? And all I've got to do is, just do this and I'll make all this money. All right, well, good luck with that, all right? Good luck with that. Because in my experience, these things are not real, okay? They're not real. You got to think to yourself, well, what is the person behind that product? What are they doing? Because they're doing the things of what it is that I'm talking about. They're doing webinars. They're doing, ads. They're doing content creation. That's what they're doing, rather than them just sitting there, just pressing a few buttons with this AI and then all of a sudden, yeah, we're making all this money. So think about it, okay? Think about it. Yes, there are some things that we've got to learn. There's some things that we need to upskill in, but that's what is required if you want to really seriously go on to achieve what it is that you are saying that you want to go on to achieve. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Reach out to me, click the link below. We've always got links below our videos of where you can get more information, where you can connect with me a little bit more directly. Until the next time, everyone, tune into the next video. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much.